Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we're making this 4 granny square sweater. So this is super great for beginners. It's literally 4 granny squares. You can do the same kind of granny square I do, or you can just do 4 granny squares. Made to measure for your own body and then joined as you go. So there's no sewing pieces together. I also changed it a bit from the tutorial in that I did 2 granny squares the same and then 2 granny squares the same. So just finishing in a different color so you don't have a double wide joint at the top. You can also change the sleeves. I just left them as is with 1 row of single crochet, but you could also just add your yarn on to make more rows going down or into bell sleeves. I'm just going to leave mine short because I live in a hot place, but you're welcome to make them as long as you want. So let's get started. So to get started, we're going to be making 4 of these granny squares, and to judge the size of how many rows you need to do for yours, just get like a t-shirt or a tank top and then lay it over top, and then the crochet is going to stretch, so it depends if you want like a super baggy sweater or more of a fitted sweater. I want more of a fitted sweater, so I am going to make it this big, just pretty much the same width as my tank top or my shirt. And I'm not really worrying about the hip measurement because it's not going to be that long. I just picked colors that I had for scraps in my scrap basket and colors that went together. And I'm just going to be using these to make my granny squares. You need 4 of these. You can do them in the same colors but in a different pattern repeat or whatever you would like to do. So this is basically just a big granny square, except we're changing how we start because we don't want the big holes in the very beginning, so we're starting with a nice little circle in the beginning. Other than that, it's a granny square. You could also do the exact same thing with a granny square. It is up to you. So these are the yarns I'm working with, just my scraps of the colors that I like how they go together, and I am using a Clover 7mm hook. I'll put a link for this in the description box below. I really like the ones that are bigger than 6mm, the 6.5 up, because they are really lightweight and they're longer than an average hook and they go really, really quick. Plus your sweater has a very nice and loose texture if you're using 4 chunky worsted weight, and all this yarn is worsted weight number 4. So to start, we're going to be making a magic ring. So put the tail over your non-dominant hand, hold it down on your ring finger with your thumb, wrap your yarn around your 2 fingers, making an X, flip your hand over, and just tuck that yarn also underneath your thumb. So you have a long strand and a short strand. Take your hook side facing down, put it underneath the short strand, grab the long strand and bring it under. Point the hook towards yourself, point the hook away from yourself. Now I'm relaxing my thumb, I'm letting this yarn slide. Grab that long strand and bring it through the loop on your hook. So there is your magic knot. Separate your tail. You're going to have your tail just laying down alongside of your ring, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to make 19 double crochets into the ring going over the tail. So wrap your yarn and go into the ring, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So that's our first double crochet, and our chain also counts as a double crochet in this pattern. So we will need to make 18 more. Wrap your yarn into the ring, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So pause the video and I'll meet you when you have 19 double crochets. Counting our chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So now grab your tail and give it a pull. We're going to close up this ring completely, so give it a big yank. You don't want to break your yarn. So just like that, and pop your tail up over your work and put it onto your hook. So it's just kind of looped over like that. We just want to snag it in the beginning and go into the top of that chain 3. So just not into the first double, but into the chain 3. Push it onto your hook. Grab your yarn and bring it back. Turn your hook and slide it through. So that's a slip stitch to join, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn because we're finished with this color. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug this down to secure. If you look at this area right here where we joined, that chain, so there's a stitch on top of the chain and there's a little lump after the chain. Those are both the same stitch. So you can decide if you're going to go into the one before the chain or after the chain, but that is not 2 stitches, so just keep an eye on that. So go into a stitch. I'm just going back into this one here, and get your next color. I want mine to match, so I'm going to be looking at my square, and I'm going to go into with this icy blue next. So with your circle, you're going to count back 5 from your join. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Put your hook in, loop of yarn on your hook, bring it through, and slip stitch with both to join. Drop your tail and chain 2, 1 and 2. So this counts as our first double crochet. If you join your yarn in a different way, then you're going to want to do a chain 3. Now into the next stitch, 1 double crochet. And the next, we're going to do 4 double crochets all by themselves, 1 into each stitch. And I'm working over my tail. I'm holding it at the back and just working over it. There's my 4th one. So now I'm going to drop that tail. Now we're at the join where that chain is. So the stitch before and the stitch after, both of those are the same stitch. So we're going to do our corner in there. So into the first part of that stitch, just push your hook in, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, so leaving 2 loops on your hook. Into the part of the stitch that's after, wrap your yarn and go in, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So now we have 3 loops on our hook, wrap your yarn and take off all 3. So that is a decrease. It looks like 2 double crochets into the circle, but at the top it only counts as 1 stitch. So that just kind of hides what we did there and makes it look a little better. Chain 1 and 1 more double crochet into that same stitch. Now after, there's this little tiny weird stitch right there. We have to go into that one. That is also a stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, 1 into each stitch. Drop one of your tails, and we're going to make a corner. So our corner is 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. 4 double crochets into the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, and 4. And into the next stitch we're going to do a corner. And our corner is 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Now we're going to finish this side, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 double crochet into each of those stitches going across. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now into our next stitch, which is where we started, which is where we did half of our corner, we're going to finish our corner. So 1 more double crochet into that spot, and a chain 1, and now we're going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to join. So slip stitch, bring the yarn through and bring the yarn through, chain 1 to secure your yarn, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. So that is our square so far. And you can see we have our corners started. So now looking at our bigger square, we can see what color we need to do next. This is the pretty side. We have our nice V's facing up, so we're going to be working into the back of our work. We're going to be flipping each round, and that's just going to keep our granny square very straight as it gets bigger. So flip it over and find a spot that you have not joined yarn. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to go into this one here. So just put your hook into that corner space, loop of yarn on your hook, bring your yarn through, slip stitch with both to join, and drop your tail. Chain 2, which counts as your first double crochet, and one more double crochet into that corner space. Now we're going to work all the way along, making one double crochet into each stitch, and I'm going to be working over my tail. So one double crochet into each of these dimples. After you've gone over your tail a little bit, just a few stitches, you can drop it and we'll work it in later with a needle. Make sure every double crochet has a double crochet. When you get to your corner space or close to it, you can see, because we flipped our work, the space for the double crochet is after the post, except for your chain. Your chain is a little before. So just be a bit mindful. Make sure you go into your chain, which is that guy. And now into our corner for this round, we're going to alternate. The last row we did double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. For this row, we're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochet. That's just going to keep our square being nice and square. It won't fluff up or ruffle. So this is going to be our corner for this round. 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochet, and then 1 into each stitch going around. Make sure you get into that last stitch before the corner. And then our corner, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. One double crochet into each stitch going along this side. And make sure you get into the last stitch before the corner. Corner, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. One double crochet into each stitch. Make sure you get into that last stitch before the corner. Push your stitches back, and now we're going to finish off this corner with 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and a chain 1. So into the top of the chain 3, just push your hook in. You want 2 loops of that stitch onto your hook. Grab your yarn and bring it back, turn your hook and bring it through. That's a slip stitch and then a chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. Now I just poke all of my yarn to the one side. So the center, where it's a pretty side up, I keep all the stitches on the other side, or all the yarn. So one side's going to be pretty the whole time, and one side is going to have your tails and your work to do. So now you're going to work into the back side of your previous round. So look for your cute little pretty V's and turn those down. You want to have your macaroni facing up. And look for a corner that doesn't have so much yarn on it. So here we joined for the blue, so we don't want to go there. Maybe I'll join in this corner here. So pretty side down, hook into the corner, loop of yarn on your hook. We're going to join the same way and do the same thing. The only thing that's changing as we're growing our square is how we're going to be doing our corners. Our corners are going to alternate between a small corner and a big corner. The small corner is 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet, and our big corner is 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochet. So we did a small corner, a big corner, and now we're going to do a small corner again. So that's the only thing that changes for this pattern. And now, so for the small corner, we're just going to start with our chain 3 and work our way around to the first corner. Into the corner, we're going to do 1 double crochet, a chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Then 1 into each stitch, going all the way around our corner over here, which is going to be 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet, and continue like that all the way around until the join. When you get back to your corner, 1 double crochet into that corner space, chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch to join. So this is the small corner round. Chain 1 to secure your yarn, cut your yarn and pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So there is our 4th round finished. The next row is going to be a big corner round. So we did small corner, big corner, small corner. So I'm going to join into this one, and we're going to put the pretty side facing down. So put your hook into that corner spot that you have picked, and looking back at your big square or deciding for yourself whichever color you want to do. I'm moving on to light gray. So loop of yarn on my hook, bring it through, slip stitch with both to join, drop your tail, and this is going to be a big corner. So we're going to do our regular chain 2, which counts as our first chain 3 and our first double crochet, and 1 more double crochet into that corner. That's half of our big corner finished. Now 1 double crochet into each stitch going all the way across, and I'm working over about half of my tail. Then you can drop your tail and just keep working towards that next corner. When we get to our next corner, we're going to do our big corner, and our big corners are 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. So keep going like that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the join. I've gone into my very last stitch. So now to finish my corner, 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. And that is our square growing. So you're going to keep going until it is the same size as your whatever garment you want it to match or be the same size as. And keep in mind, crochet is going to stretch, so if you want it to be more form-fitting, you're going to want to keep it on the smaller side. And if you want it to be loose, then keep it to a more accurate size to match a t-shirt or whatever you would like. And alternate your rows between a small corner and a big corner, a small corner and a big corner. Small corners, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Big corners, 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. So just alternate doing that until your square is as big as you would like it to be. So I have my 4 squares finished, including one with my joining color all the way around. So this one is completely edged. These two have that last row to still be put on, and then my last one has the border on one side. So if you've watched any of our other joining tutorials, we always join with one square completely edged and the second square with one side done. So we are ready. We'll put these 2 away for now. And the square that we have edged completely, we'll put up on top. So there's our edge. We're going to join 2. So now we're ready to start joining from this corner to that corner and then all the way along on this one side only. So I've done my 3 double crochets into that corner. And now I'm going to find the corner of the square I've already finished. So isolate those stitches you did in the corner space and then wiggle 2 away and wiggle 2 more away, and you'll have 1 stitch left. So this is the stitch that is the corner. So put your hook down into that space, grab your yarn from underneath, bring it up and through and slip stitch to join. Wrap your yarn, double crochet into your corner that you're working on, slip stitch into the next stitch to join. And you want to get 2 loops of that stitch on your hook. Bring your yarn back up and slip stitch to join. Now I've done 4 double crochets into the corner below, so I want to do 1 more. That's 5. And slip stitch to the next stitch. To join. And now we're going to work across, so double crochet into the next stitch like we always are, and slip stitching to the square we're joining. Double crochet into the square that's close to us, slip stitching, and pull your hook down so you can see. You don't want to have your hook up because you'll skip this stitch. So pull your hook down so you can see the next empty stitch. And go into the empty one, slip stitch to join. Double crochet into the square closest to you, hook down and slip stitch to the next stitch to join. So we're going to keep going like this, making 1 double crochet into the square closest to us, moving our hook out of the way and slip stitching into the next empty stitch to join. Double crochet in the stitch closest to you, slip stitch in the stitch that's above. So work your way along all the way. We're going to join this complete side. This is going to be one side of our rib cage. So we're going to be making a tube. So keep working your way all the way up. So you're getting this really nice little flat braided join, and it has the same stretch as your crocheted piece, so it's easier to judge. But if this is tricky for you or you find yourself getting frustrated, you can always just leave a long tail and sew it in together when you're finished. If you're going to sew it together, finish all of your edges so that all of your grinded squares are finished to the same size, and then sew them together. I am going to do this little join as you go. I'll meet you at the end of this row. So I've gone into my last double crochet and I've slip stitched. So now I'm going to work into my corner. And don't worry if it doesn't look like it lines up. It doesn't, but it will because we haven't done our corner. So there's my first double crochet into the corner and slip stitch into the next stitch. Second double crochet into the corner. And I'm going to go straight into that center space now with my slip stitch, and I'm going to have 3 more double crochets left to do. I'm just going to go and do them because what I want, so I'm just going to do them. They're my 3 double crochets, and now we can kind of turn our work. So there's our 3, here is 4, and here is 5. So there is our corner that we have worked around. And this will straighten out on our next round. We're going to do one more row just to border everything. So don't worry if you have a little whoop there. Everybody's going to have a whoop there. Now one double crochet into each stitch until you reach this corner. When you get to your corner, start by putting in your 3 double crochets or your 2 double crochets if you are on a small corner. Now, turn everything around, flip it together. Here is our join here where we've already joined, and here is where we want to join. So this is a bit more awkward, but this is how I still do it. I still do it in the same way, so I don't get confused. I just fold it like that. Like that. And now I'm ready to join in the same way. So find your corner, which is your center one, this guy. I think I made a mistake there. I think I did a chain, so I'm just going to use that as my corner. But really, you should go into your center stitch unless you have to fix something that you did creatively. So I slip stitched, double crochet into the corner I'm joining, put your hook back, and you'll see this very first stitch here. So it's right at the corner, that stitch. So remember to start with that one. That's an easy one to forget, and then it puts your stitch count off the whole way. So slip stitch, double crochet into the corner, and into the next stitch, slip stitch. So now make sure you have 5 into the corner. That one's into a stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're going to keep joining this side the same as we did on the other side to completely make a tube. This is going to be the bodice or the body of our sweater. So keep going, 1 double crochet into the square that you are joining and a slip stitch into the square that is already finished. Keep going along like this, and I will meet you at the end of this row. I've gone into my last double crochet and slip stitched, so now I'm going to go into my corner to keep working towards. I've slip stitched into that stitch, so this is my next one. Back into the corner. This is the 4th double crochet in that corner space. And it looks like I'm going into my corner. Like that, and 1 more double crochet into the corner, so that is a total of 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including my chain. And I'm going to slip stitch to join. So top of the chain 3, just push your hook in, bring your yarn back, and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn, and now you can cut your yarn. So cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. So now we have this little tube, a loop, a circle. This is going to go around our body. All nice and matching. So this is a great time to just make sure it fits. We could have also made sure it fit before we joined, but it's crochet, it'll stretch, it'll be cute. Like that. So we have a full circle loop done. Now we're going to get our next squares. We have 2 more squares. We are joining at the top a bit like that. So you can put your tube away for a few minutes while we work on our sleeves. The sleeves, we need to find the center. So your number is going to be different from my number because of the size of your granny square. The hook that you're using, everything will probably be different for yours. So we want to find the middle of this side and the middle of this side. We want them to be lined up, and we need to mark it out. So just do a quick count of this and a quick count of that. So our tube is ready to go, our body of our sweater, and our sleeves we're going to work on those next. So what you want to do, fold it in half, count the stitches along one side and along the other side, and mark halfway on both of the pieces, or both of the edges, and also one of the corners. So this is just going to mark that this is where we're joining them together. And then this is going to be the back quarter, top quarter of the sweater, and this will be the front top quarter of the sweater. This is going to go around the tube. But you need to mark it out where these stitches go. So I've done that on both of my sleeves. So there is my ends and my ends, the ones I'm going to hold together. Those are going to be my sleeves. And this is going to be the top of my sweater. It's upside down now, but I join that way, so that's just how my brain works. And now our tube, we're going to join this one here all the way to the center of this here. So now for our tube, we also want to mark that. Now it doesn't matter which side you say is up, this side or that side, doesn't matter. So now you have to count along your tube, front and back, and find the very center stitch. And we're going to put a stitch marker there as well. So don't count the joins, but count all the ones after. So this is the center of mine. So stitch marker. And the other side as well. So now I've marked the center. So I'm working upside down. So I have the bottom of my sweater up top because this is where I'm joining two. I just have to fold it so it doesn't fall off of my table. And this is where we're going to be joining. So what I want to do is I'm going to join my yarn in this corner here, and I'm going to work all the way along until here, and then we're going to start joining. So hook in loop of yarn on your hook, slip stitch with both, and drop your tail. Chain 2, 1 and 2. One more double crochet into that corner, so there's 2 double crochets in there. And now I'm just going to work along the edge until I get to that stitch marker, going partially over my tail before I drop it. I'm going to go into the stitch with the stitch marker. Now we are ready to join. So get your corner where you joined a little bit open. So go into this corner, go into this space on the other side. So it would be kitty corner. Grab your yarn and bring it up. And leave it on your hook, and now go into this first stitch where you should be joining. Bring your yarn up, and now slip stitch through everything to join. So that gives us a little join that's nice and closed. And we've joined into the first stitch. So now we can keep going on this side. 1 double crochet into the stitch, 1 slip stitch to join all the way across until we reach this stitch marker and the end of our sleeve. Now I've gone into my last double crochet. I have not reached my stitch marker yet, but don't forget we still have to build our corner. So into the corner space, our first one slip stitching, our second one slip stitching, take our stitch marker out, and we have our join started along that side. Now the next one is our third, so we need 4 and 5. That is my rooster. The kids call him Gru. He's very beautiful. He's so pretty. I'll show you one day actually. So now work all the way along this side. And we can even open up our sleeve now. We're gonna go all the way to over here. 1 double crochet into each stitch. I'll meet you here. So we've gotten over to the corner, and we wanna do the exact same thing we did on this side, which is 3 double crochets into the corner spot before the join. So over here, 3 double crochets, 2 and 3. Let me put a stitch marker in there just for now, just so I don't lose my stitch as we move all of this stuff around. So there is the top of the sweater started. Here's the body of the sweater. Now I still want to keep the one I'm working on in front of me, so I'm turning it all around. And I'm ready to join this stitch into this area. So where your stitch marker is, take your stitch marker out and put your hook down. That is where you're going to start joining on this part of the construction. So hook down, yarn up, and slip stitch. And back into the corner for a double crochet, and into the next stitch, slip stitch, and that is 4 double crochets into my corner, so I am going to end with 5 double crochets and slip stitch. So now work along this side, 1 double crochet into each stitch with a slip stitch into the square we have already finished, and I'll meet you when we get to the edge. That's the last one. That's normal. Now where our stitch marker is, double crochet, and we're going to join kitty corner. So it's a bit funny now because we're making like an actual cross, but we're going to join kitty corner. Same rules as granny squares. So we're going to join way over here. So we're working along this way, but we're going to join over here just so we have a good join in our armpit area. So I'm going to go right into there. Slip stitch. Now we can turn our work again a little bit and get this side a little bit organized, just so we can see what we're doing. Now we're going to join our sleeve. So still 1 into each stitch, and now we can go straight into that first stitch over here. That guy. Now it's easy peasy, 1, 1, 1. And we have a really nice join. It looks really pretty. We can take out that stitch marker because we know we're joining. That is no longer a mystery. And now our corner. One and 2. The second one is just going to go into that chain. 2 loops of the stitch on your hook, slip stitch to join. Now we'll turn and finish this corner, so 3 more double crochets into that corner space. So there's 5 into that corner space, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're just going to work our way along the edge until we get to the join. So into the corner space, we'll finish our corner with our 3 double crochets, 2 and 3. And now I'm going to slip stitch to the top of this chain 3 to join. So just like usual, nothing crazy. Chain 1 and cut your yarn. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So now we have half of our sweater done. Yay. So now decide which side you want to be the front of your sweater and what you want to be the back of your sweater. Now I joined this one backwards. This is my macaroni in the center, so I'm going to turn this into my back, which means this is going to be my back. And we want to also stitch this up 2/3 of the way. So you can just give a rough count, or you can actually just count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Oh, well, that is just lucky sauce right there. So I am going to leave 7 empty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 7, that is going to be empty. I'm putting the stitch marker where I'm not going to be putting a stitch, and I'm also going to join up this side. So up the back of your neck, it's not down to your shoulders. It'll be just up to here with a little bit of an extra space at the back of your neck. So we're going to do the exact same thing, almost, except we'll do a little more joining here as we did for our other sleeve. So cute. So let's start by turning it all upside down again. And we're going to flip it this way as well. A lot of flipping. But get it ready so it'll be this, it feels like the same thing you did on this side, we're going to do here. So get it ready so you can join your yarn and work in the direction that you crochet with your finished piece on top and what you're working on closest to you. So we're going to do the same thing, join our yarn in the corner, which will be the underarm of the sleeve, and then work our way all the way along until our stitch marker. So the chain 3 and double crochet into the corner space, and then 1 double crochet into each stitch until you reach the stitch marker. So I've gotten to my stitch marker. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. We want to do a nice close join. So into the opposite side, into that corner space, I'm going to bring up a loop of yarn, and then into the stitch that I should be working into, I'm also going to bring up a loop of yarn. And now turn your hook and slip stitch to both. So that just closes both sides of that join. And now keep working along, 1 double crochet into the sleeve that you're joining. And this is the next stitch that is empty. Slip stitch to join and work your way along this side of your sweater. So double crochet into the corner, double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet back into the corner. And now this one is a bit tricky. I'm just going to turn it. We want to join kitty corner, so we don't want to totally join into this big space because that is going to get too big. I'm just going to join right in that little spot there. And I'm going to do a close little slip stitch to join. And now into my corner, double crochet. You just want to join to across, like the other side, so that it stays shut, because this is going to be the very front of your, like the V-neck underneath your neck. So you want it to look smart and pretty. And now finish off this corner. So there's 3 double crochets, so here is 4, and 5. And we're not joining anymore. Now we're just going to work along our neckline. And you just want to make sure that you're happy with that join before you go on farther, because that is going to be the very front of your sweater. So we've joined the front of our sweater and we flipped it over. We're working down this back side, but we want to count our stitches so that we know when we should start joining. You can just wiggle your fingers into the same spots and then hop up your stitches. Ooh, looky, to about here, right where we are. Oh, that was just fluke of nature, to be honest with you. So turn your work where we're joining to the one above, and where we are working is closest to us. And into that stitch marker, put your hook down into that stitch, and we're going to slip stitch to join. Now we can take our stitch marker out now that we know we're in the right stitch. And use some tension. You want this to be a small kind of slip stitch because it's going to get pulled quite a bit. It'll be right at the back of your neck. And now we'll just keep joining in regular fashion all the way down until we get to that little corner. So now it looks like that. It looks like we have a lot of space over here, but don't worry about it. We're going to be going into the corner. Our first double crochet, our second double crochet, our third double crochet. So now we're going to do the same little tricky bit we did before. So we're going to join into the same stitch that we should join into. So just bring up that loop, but leave it onto your hook. And now go down into that same stitch that we joined in on the other side and bring up a loop. So there's 3 loops on your hook. Turn your hook and slip stitch through all of those. So that just gives us a nice little tight join in the very corner. One more double crochet into that corner space, and now we want to turn our sweater. And now we're going to join this side like usual, 1 into each empty stitch. So that is 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochets into that corner space. Here's our 5th. Into the chain, into the stitch. So keep going like this all the way along this side. I'll meet you when we get over here. Now we're getting close to the corner, so fold everything over so you can kind of see what's up. So we're going to join right over here. So we have a nice strong join and no holes in our armpits. And now turn your work and try to just arrange it. I know it's awkward, but that is how it is. There we go. Now work your way down this sleeve until you get to the end of this row. Now on this side we do the same as the other cuff. Just get your 5 double crochets into that corner. 1, oopsies, 2, and 3. And now work your way along the cuff until we get back to this join. At the join, we just want to finish off that corner. So we have 2 double crochets into the corner, so we're going to put in 3 more. 2 and 3. And we're going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 like we always would. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn. pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug this down. And there is our so cute sweater. Oh, I cannot wait to try it on. Adorable. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Join us over on Instagram and our Facebook groups. We can see what fabulous colors you picked for your sweater. And thank you so much for watching. Stay hooked.